unusuals are supposed to be rare. They're supposed to drop approximately 1% of the time, and many are worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars each. But not on July 25th, 2019, a day that will forever live in infamy within the history books of TF2. You see, on this day, Valve introduced a game-breaking bug on a level we have never seen before in the history of TF2, or maybe even in the history of gaming altogether. For almost 24 hours, certain old crates had a 100% unusual unbox rate. This meant that if you opened the right crate, you would unbox an unusual every single time. And you can imagine how something like this would threaten to destroy the economy forever. This was the Crate Depression of TF2, the day Valve broke the TF2 economy. In the eyes of Valve, July 25th was supposed to be a significant date for TF2 players, but not because of the unusual bug. On this day, Valve added a brand new case to TF2, the Summer 2019 cosmetic case, in what was TF2's first content patch in over 6 months. This small update was pushed at 5:19 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right before Valve got off work on a Thursday evening. As was expected, the new cases were added to the drop list, and as people started unboxing them, nothing out of the ordinary was observed. In fact, everything seemed to be going according to plan until about 10 p.m., 5 hours after the patch went live. At this time, a trader by the name of Butternut Squash decided to unbox a few crates, other than the new summer one, while on Vatican City, a popular unusual trade server. He started by unboxing a single crate number 4, hoping to either pull a white paint or possibly a first generation unusual. Of course, as I'm sure you guys can predict, he got exactly what he wanted, unboxing a circling heart noble nickel amassment of hats. A few minutes later, he unboxed again and got another unusual. After he got a few more unusuals in a row, it didn't take long for him and everyone else on the trade server to figure out exactly what was going on. Somehow, crates were dropping 100% unusuals, and soon everyone on the server was freaking out. Now, because not all crates in the game ended up being bugged, this initial group of trade server inhabitants were the guinea pigs of the glitch. These were the people that via trial and error tried unboxing pretty much every crate in the game to see which ones would drop unusuals. And after repeated attempts at unboxing, it became clear that the crates that dropped unusuals were a random assortment of crates over the years, including crates 1 through 18, 59, 61, 82, and 85. This random assortment of crates also ensured that only first and third generation unusual effects would be affected by the glitch, as no second generation crates appeared on this drop list. Now, as you might expect, the news of 100% unusuals spread like wildfire. It quickly infected Firepowered, the other active unusual trade server, and soon spread to other places like the Backpack.to forums and Discord, Twitter, Reddit, and all over the internet. As for myself, I first found out about this glitch at about 11:30 p.m., and after testing a couple of Crate 82s, my heart was pounding and my mind was about to explode. As was predicted, I unboxed unusual after unusual after unusual after unusual. This wasn't a dream. This was really happening. And at this point, I don't think anyone could have verbalized my reaction better than Banny did while live on stream.
Oh no. Oh no.
You see, this is where the story gets ugly. Because it was late at night and Valve was not in their office, the bug had no way of getting patched until the next day. And in the meantime, thousands upon thousands of new unusuals were being unboxed by the hour, such that unusuals, the game's rarest and most iconic items, were suddenly becoming as common as the keys used to unbox them in the first place. If left unaddressed, this sheer mass of new unusuals guaranteed that the unusual market would crash by the next day, people would lose everything, and the economy would never be the same again. It seemed like at this point Valve would have to step in and do something about these glitched items. But because it was still at night, nothing could happen until the next workday started, such that the glitch continued to be active throughout the night, plunging the TF2 economy into a state of absolute chaos as unboxing raged on and people continued to panic. One key element of this chaos had to do with selling new unboxes. You see, if one was to unbox tradable crates, the unusuals they would get would be tradable right away, meaning that if unboxers were especially quick, they could trade off their glitched hats at close to full price before the market was able to fully react to the bug. And because these glitched unusuals had no guarantee to ever hold value again in the future, anyone who was unlucky enough to trade for a glitched hat essentially got scammed. Now, while many regular traders did unfortunately fall victim to trading for a glitched hat, trade bots and trade websites had it 100 times worse. You see, due to the unexpected nature of the bug, many bot owners didn't have the opportunity to take down their listings, such that some people took advantage of their automatic nature and sold them glitched unusual after glitched unusual after glitched unusual until they had no keys left in their inventory. While trade sites like TradeIt.gg and Marketplace.tf were smart enough to shut down their unusual banks fairly quickly, there were still people who racked up thousands of dollars in sales before their caps were put into place. It's also worth noting that people could sell their glitched hats, even untradeable ones, to buy orders on the Steam community market. However, these listings were blown through almost instantly, and once they were gone, people started listing their unusuals for lower and lower prices, to the point where one was able to pick up hats for as low as $5, something I never thought I would ever witness. But unusuals weren't the only items going crazy on the Steam market. At the same time, glitched crates were selling in record numbers, such that by midnight, you couldn't buy an affected crate for less than $2 to $3. While this price might seem absolutely crazy to you and me, people at the time didn't seem to mind since they were still guaranteed an unusual for less than $5. And the craziest thing about these expensive crates was that it meant that crates themselves were actually one of the most profitable endeavors during the glitch. You see, if you were to buy say 100 crate 82s for 3 cents each, the price they started out at before they spiked, you could potentially make $200 to $300 instantly simply by reselling the crates for around $2.50 each. While I unfortunately didn't catch onto this method myself, some other traders hit the jackpot, reselling hundreds upon hundreds of crates throughout the night, snagging so much profit that Steam's automatic systems temporarily trade banned them for suspicious behavior. One guy even bought a Valve index with this method, which was absolutely insane. And this was pretty much the world we lived in, all the way up until the next morning and into the afternoon, when Valve finally decided to speak up and make an announcement. At 12:07 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Friday, July 26, 2019, Valve finally broke their silence. In their first tweet in over a year, the TF2 team announced that they were temporarily shutting down trading, unboxing, and selling items on the Steam market while they investigated the glitch. This of course finally put an end to the bug, but only after it had been active for a whopping 19 hours, allowing people to unbox an estimated 100,000 or more brand new unusuals. The fate of the economy now rests in Valve's hands, so for the rest of the afternoon, the community held its breath, waiting to see what exactly Valve would do. Unfortunately, it turned out that Valve didn't really have a plan. When they eventually updated us again at 4:49 p.m., they informed us that they had simply marked all glitched unusuals as untradeable and that they would update us sometime after the weekend. While this was certainly anticlimactic, it did make some amount of sense, as it seemed unlikely that Valve would be able to decide on and implement a major change in less than a day on Friday. Thus, for the time being, everyone who obtained a glitched unusual got to enjoy their new hats, and the internet finally had time to digest what had happened and to theorize what Valve could do to fix the economy. While there are an almost infinite number of ideas pitched on r/TF2 or other places online, it seemed like the most common solutions could be boiled down into 4 concrete categories. Number 1. Keep the unusuals untradeable forever. This would definitely be the simplest option for Valve, as they wouldn't really have to do anything more. I'd argue most people would be happy with keeping their hats, but the regular unusual market might suffer. Number 2. Delete the unusuals and refund all unboxes. This solution would mostly restore the economy, but it would have a notable feel-bad element to it, as many casual players wouldn't want Valve to take away their new hats. Number 3. Make all unusuals tradable, but potentially modify them in some way. Even though this option would be arguably the most fair solution, since the glitch was Valve's fault, it would almost guarantee the demise of the unusual market and impact Valve's future profits. Number 4. Roll back all inventories. In many ways, this would be the ideal solution, as it would treat the glitch like it didn't happen and would address the people and bots screwed over by trading full price for glitched hats. However, as many people during the rollback period would have made trades that either included cash or other games as items, if all TF2 transactions were reversed, a sizable amount of people would get scammed or be upset about losing their trades, making this option seem largely unfeasible. In addition to these solutions, many people also wanted Valve to give out a Cheater's Lament style item for those who didn't unbox, as they felt they deserved something for not exploiting the bug, or felt left out for not being able to play TF2 when the glitch was in effect. So, with all of this in mind, what did Valve end up doing? The answer came exactly 1 week later, on Friday, August 2nd, 2019. When Valve's announcement finally came, I didn't really know what to expect. While I definitely liked parts of the many solutions I had heard, I quite honestly didn't feel like any one solution completely fixed the problem, as it seemed almost impossible to please all parties involved. That being said, given the intricacies of the situation, I have to say Valve approached the problem very well. Instead of simply taking one of the main ideas from the community, Valve merged almost all of these options into a single solution that quite honestly might be the best compromise we have ever seen from the TF2 team. In a well-formulated blog post, Valve announced that they would do two main things to address the glitched unusuals. Number 1, they would leave the unusuals as trade locked, and they would put up a support page that would allow anyone to get a refund on any number of their trade locked hats. They would also restore any unusuals people deleted in panic, admitting that the glitch was their mistake and their mistake alone, and we did nothing wrong by unboxing. Number 2, they would make the first glitched unusual each person obtained tradable, regardless of whether they unboxed it or got it in some other way. And man, in all honesty, I don't think anyone was expecting this. I mean, giving a free unusual to everyone in the economy sounds like a horrible idea from an economic perspective. However, Valve seemed to be prepared for this reaction, as they followed this up by noting that the amount of unusuals made tradable would only be equivalent to about a month's worth of unusual unboxes. So, was this solution any good? Well, as much as I didn't expect to say it, my first impressions were positive. While I had originally hoped Valve would simply remove all the glitched hats from the game, keeping the vast majority of them trade locked still prevented the economy from crashing, while also allowing people to hold onto their shiny new hats. I also think Valve's refund portal was incredibly smart, as people could pick and choose which hats they wanted to keep, instead of either getting everything refunded or everything stuck in their inventory forever. That being said, there were a few downsides to Valve's solution. Right off the bat, the refund portal wasn't entirely perfect, as Valve only supported refunds from crate unboxes or from the Steam market, completely leaving out anyone who unknowingly traded for a glitched hat via the regular trade window. While fortunately most people in this boat were able to avoid the bulk of their losses when their first hat was made tradable, the same couldn't have been said about trade bots. When the dust settled, many bots had 5, 10, or even 15 untradable unusuals in them, making bot owners the single group of people that fared the worst from the glitch in the first place. However, one could also argue another group had it just as bad: the people who didn't unbox or take advantage of the bug in any way. You see, at the end of the day, Valve's solution ended up greatly rewarding anyone who unboxed, while everyone else not only didn't get an unusual, but didn't even get a Cheater's Lament, causing many players to throw up their hands in frustration. It seemed like Valve was only rewarding the unethical behavior of exploiting bugs. Now, in my mind, whether or not unboxing was unethical is up for debate, but as someone who was able to unbox during the glitch, I will admit I got lucky, and I do feel bad for those who were offline on the night of the craziness. That being said, while it would have been nice for Valve to take the extra step and give out a Cheater's Lament as a small gift, nobody was ever entitled anything, and I think many people got too fixated on the idea of getting a reward, such that when it didn't happen, they blew it out of proportion. Further, I don't really sympathize with those who chose not to unbox, trying to take the moral high ground. I mean, the realist inside me tells me that there was no way Valve was going to ban everyone who exploited their own bug, and given the choice between possibly getting multiple free unusuals, or maybe getting a relatively unremarkable free item that everyone else got, I would take the unusuals in a heartbeat. Plus, as long as you didn't try and scam others by offloading your glitched hats for full price, you weren't really making anybody's day any worse. Anyway, regardless of whether or not people should have gotten a free item, there was still a much more important question that still needed to be addressed. Was Valve's solution genuinely good for the economy? Would free unusuals ruin the market? Or was a month's worth of tradable hats not enough to make an impact? Because Valve didn't implement their solution on the same day they announced it, we had to wait 2 weeks to find out. On Friday, August 16th, 2019, Valve announced via Twitter that their support page was now online and that they had finally made the first glitched hat in everyone's inventory tradable. Almost instantly, there was a mass panic as people fought to unload their hats as fast as they could, fearing a market crash. People started quick selling for crazy low prices, and some people even sold their hats for less than 8 keys, the bare minimum price for unusual hats. However, this craziness didn't last long. In an almost unprecedented reversal, the market was able to absorb these hats very well, and in a couple of weeks, aside from a little bit more competition on the classifieds, things started to seem almost back to normal. But how is this possible? Wouldn't giving everyone a free unusual guarantee to crash the economy? As it turns out, not necessarily. In fact, in this case, one could even argue that giving out free unusuals was actually good for the economy, making me believe that the TF2 team's decision here was nothing but pure genius. In regards to the economy crashing, because only 1st and 3rd gen crates were affected by the bug, and because 1st gen crates are older and more rare, most people only uncrated newer 3rd gen crates, meaning that the god tier 1st gen market was largely unaffected. While of course this meant that quite a few 3rd gens ended up hitting the market, most of these hats were relatively inexpensive, and the numbers were not as bad as some people thought due to the way that old crates work. You see, unlike new cases, every old crate shares the same unusual drop list, a list that is actually quite sizable. This means that the chance for someone to pull any given unusual is actually very low, such that when thousands of people mass unbox these older crates during the glitch, no more than about 3 to 5 of each 3rd gen hat ended up actually being tradable. Further, when I asked you guys in a poll what you guys were planning on doing with your tradable unusuals, more than half of you guys responded that you were simply planning on keeping your hats, pointing to the conclusion that many hat and effect combinations never even had a single unusual hit the market. With all of this in mind, it seems clear why the market didn't crash, and when you take the inevitable demise of the TF2 economy out of the picture, the whole situation doesn't actually seem like much of a Great Depression after all. But even still, how would one argue that this was actually good for TF2? I mean, 3rd gen still took a very real hit in terms of sellability, and wouldn't more unusuals in existence, untradable or not, reduce general demand? Well, maybe. But on the other hand, according to my poll, the second most popular thing people did with their tradable unusuals was to sell them for other TF2 items. And because the vast majority of people paid almost nothing to unbox 3rd gens that were inexpensive and easy to sell, Valve essentially just injected wealth into the economy. In the same way that tax cuts or government subsidies are supposed to act as an economic stimulus, Valve giving everybody free unusuals essentially encouraged spending within TF2's virtual economy. Many people who didn't want their hats were able to sell them and buy their dream loadouts, and others who were on the fence were finally able to get into trading for the first time. In fact, the Great Depression ended up being a glorious time for getting into unusual trading specifically. Many new traders now had keys, and since most buy orders on backpack.tf were torn through during the height of the glitch, one could buy quick sells with an ease not seen before since maybe 2015 or 2016. Now, because I'm making this video a month after the glitch, I don't know exactly what the future will hold for the TF2 economy. But as we get further and further away from the date, I have to imagine that the market will eventually go back to what it was before the bug, and all we will have left are the trade-locked hats. These untradable unusuals have a signature non-craftable tag, so if you've ever seen someone with an untradable, uncraftable unusual, you'll know now it came from this historic day in TF2 history. Now, although absolute chaos did reign for the one day that the glitch was active, in retrospect, I actually think that the Great Depression ended up having a net positive impact on the game. After all, in the words of the great Uncle Dane himself,
even though it was for totally dumb and dramatic reasons, I genuinely enjoyed my feed being filled with TF2 related discussions, jokes, memes, hot takes, etc. Again, I've missed this. I wish we had reasons to do it more often.
With that, I want to thank everyone for making it this far in the video and patiently waiting for me to finally release this. I hope you guys all really enjoyed the video, and until next time guys, thanks for watching.